welcome to Visceral. So today, I want to just revisit some of the products that surprised me this year. This is not like everything that I got this year, obviously, but these are just things that caught me by surprise, for the good or for the bad. For good or for bad, whatever it was. That being said, before we get started, please do not forget to like and subscribe so you become a resident of Visceral. And yeah, let's get started. All right. So let's start with the only non-makeup product, which is this brush set from Doll 10 and Makeup Molly, which I actually started following Makeup Molly after I found her brush set, not the other way around, because this brush set was so good and everyone was just talking about it. But it's eight brushes. This one has not been touched yet. I ended up buying 3 sets. I liked the first one so much, I ended up buying 3 sets, both of them, the other 2 on sale. So this is it. You have a big fluffy brush. This is more for like the inner corner, lower lash line, a bunch of blending brushes, and I loved it. I loved it. I bought 3 sets. That's ridiculous. I bought 3 sets, but I loved it. This brush showed me how bad quality brushes I used to have, but I have so many of them now that I'm like, what can I do now? Because I have so many Morphe brushes. Let's say that Morphe are bad quality, but in comparison to these ones, they're horrible. So there's that. All right, I have a bunch of eyeshadow, but I don't want to get into that just yet. So quickly, I want to talk about Persona Cosmetics. Overall, Persona Cosmetics this year just like threw me by surprise. There's a bunch of products from them that I just tried for the first time this year, and I've been loving it. Just loving it. These glosses were just amazing. I love this formula. It's sheer, but still has a nice tint of color. You can definitely build it up. Like this one actually looks really nice on the lips. It looks very vibrantly red. These ones are just as cute, just a little nude one and a little pink one. Super cute. I really enjoyed this. Took me as a surprise. I was like, oh, what's another gloss gonna be like, I wasn't thinking much about it. It's like, it's just another gloss. But no, these were amazing and I really enjoyed them and I'm really happy about it. So then I also got the highlighter in Zuma from them. I love this highlighter. I was told, well, I wasn't told personally, but Kelly Gooch always says that this is a dupe for Becca Opal. Goodness, words. And I actually do have that highlighter right here. It's actually, Becca Opal is my favorite highlighter. They do look somewhat similar. I will say that the Becca one is a little bit less intense, which I personally prefer. This one is very blinding, and there's nothing wrong with that. It does blend really nicely into the skin, but I do prefer the Becca formula slightly just because it looks more skin-like, if that makes any sense. Not that this one looks bad. It doesn't, but I'm just saying. This surprised me that I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, and I'm okay with that. Now, this is a blush, and a bit of more of a disappointing thing. Now, I still love it. This is Georgia, the blush from them, and this is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful blush shade. It's a nice little peach shade. But I'm surprisingly not reaching for it the way I thought I would, because I personally was more interested in the shade Georgia than I was in Caramel. And in fact, I even thought about buying just Georgia, not Caramel. But I rarely reach for this one. When I do reach for it, it's very pretty, very pigmented, very, very beautiful, really, really nice on the skin. But I very rarely reach for it. It's just, I guess, I don't know if it's the shade, it's a little bit harder to pair with, versus Caramel, who I almost didn't think of buying, but ended up buying the blush set. Well, technically it was a birthday gift, but I ended up getting the blush set, and I do use the hell out of this blush. I really like it, and it's because it looks almost purple, which I was like, I don't know if that's gonna look good on me, but it doesn't. It's just like this beautiful mauve rosiness that goes well with anything. I don't care what you're wearing, you can pair with that rosy shade right there. It's so neutral. It doesn't look too cool, doesn't look too warm, and it's just perfect. Just perfect. I'm loving this one. Now, I will say though, the blush that I've reached for the most, obviously, is my Project Pan blush. But if I have to choose, or sometimes I'm like, you know what, I don't want to reach for that blush right now, it's going to be the ColourPop Under Construct. And I got this for Christmas last year. So I essentially got it at the beginning of this year, essentially. And this blush has been, it's the one I'm wearing right now. It can be really intense. I've definitely seen people with lighter skin tones than me that really like it, but this shade is just beautiful. I can pair with almost anything. It's very similar, I think, to Caramel from Persona, in the sense of how easy and neutral it is. Now this one is definitely more warm. This is Construct right here versus this one's more cool tone. But it looks beautiful in the cheeks. It goes with almost anything, and it's so easy when I don't want to think about it. I just want something nice. This is it. It just looks so great. So let's talk about the two palettes that I got from Persona. So I did 2 first for Valentine's Day this year, and I was blown away by this formula. This formula is amazing. This is the most intense black that I've ever used. Usually when I do like a black smoky, I will put some kind of base underneath, but with this black, you don't need to do that at all. It is so intense. You don't need it. It will be the blackest black. It is so soft, easy to blend, and the entire formula of this is beautiful. I love everything. This shade right here, Independent, became one of my favorites really quickly, and just put it all over the lid. It's like a one and done shade. You don't even gotta try. Actually, I should do a video of like one and done shades that I really love, from like palettes and singles. I'll think about it. I know that Kelly Gooch did one not that long ago. That's why it's fresh in my mind now. Anyway, this palette impressed me so much. I loved it. One of the best formulas I own. So I decided for my birthday that I was gonna let my boyfriend get me the Identity palette. One, because I've heard it was specifically for people with brown eyes, and I have beautiful brown eyes, and I was like, why not? It's a neutral palette. Some people find it boring. I personally love neutrals, although I'm wearing a very green eye. Like right now, it kind of looks brown in here, but it's green. So I was like, why not? But this was a bit disappointing for me. I was not expecting that because everybody loves it. When everybody compares which one do you love more, Identity 1 or Identity 2, everyone always says Identity 1. So I was like shocked to be so disappointed by this palette, because I will say I like the shimmers more than I like the mattes, and that's saying something for me, because I personally prefer mattes over shimmers any day. Like today I am doing an all matte look, and this is on a regular. I do all matte looks. I prefer all matte looks. I prefer mattes. But for me to say that I love the shimmers more, that says something. Now the trick here is I just feel like it's not that they don't go well with my eyes, is they don't go well with my skin tone. I know that like it's coming out, but the sun's about to set. They just don't go well with my skin tone. It is so hard for me to place this. I don't know what it is about this undertones that clash with my skin. I don't know if it's because I have a slight olive undertone. I'm like neutral, leaning into olive, so it's slightly greenish, it's slightly yellow, a little bit golden, but it's not yellow or golden precisely. It's just a little bit in between. And I don't know if that's what's clashing with these undertones, but I have such a hard time. I put the shade Charming all over my lid, and you would have thought I put gray on my eye. I don't understand, because I swatch it and it looks brown, and it looks like a beautiful normal nude brown, and I'm like, was I just putting too much? Like, I don't know. And I've tried to play with it a couple times, and I've done some looks that I like, but I always have a hard time with my transitioning, with my transition shades, because they just look very, very charcoal gray on me. And I tried Maverick as well, which also looked more like a cool tone brown. I was like, no, it'll be fine. It looks great. I don't understand what it is about these shades that look great on me. And so by the time I try to put, like that middle tone shade, like these ones right here, it just looks muddy, and I'm just struggling. And the formula is not bad. They blend really well. It's just the undertones don't look good on my skin tone, and it's so weird. I've never experienced this before, and I want to keep playing with this palette because I do like the formula, and the shimmers are really nice, and I personally don't have any problems with the deeper shades right here. I'm just really struggling with these two transition shades, and it's making this whole palette a lot harder for me to use, because I know some people like to use a bunch of different palettes when they do their looks. I do that sometimes, but for the most part I just pull one palette and that's what I focus on. So this is a struggle for me. I'm still trying to figure it out. The quality is there, but I can't put my finger on what it is that I'm struggling so much with. Okay, and a more positive note, the product to change bronzer for me altogether is this Milani bronzer. Spoiler alert for my Harry Potter project pan. I did hit pan on it. It took me for fucking ever. I've never struggled to hit pan on a bronzer before until this. But like this is beautiful. It kind of faded right now. It looks like kind of faded, at least on the screen, but when I look in the mirror, I can still see it. I just used it right here, so it kind of looks a little, you know, like you kind of do like a contour bronze thing, and it just changed the game for me because it's not too dark for me. This is shade number 2. It's neutral, so it's not too orange because I hate orange bronzers. I think it's so unnatural to wear an orange bronzer. Nobody goes around looking like an Oopa Loopa, and it's not too much darker than me because I'm, you know, I don't want to like rag on girls, but like some girls are like going like 5-10 shades darker with their bronzers, and it looks very unnatural in my personal opinion. And granted, I'm not a makeup artist, I don't know for sure, but in my personal opinion, I think it looks more beautiful and more natural when you use something that's more like 2 to 3 shades darker. If you go too dark, it looks very unreal, and especially when you go something that's very orange, it just pops at you, and then you end up, instead of like a nice blushy, nice bronze contour kind of thing, you end up with a streak of orange down your cheeks, and that just does not look pretty. At least to me, it doesn't. That's not the way I like to use bronzer, and that's when I've used most bronzer, except for the butter bronzer, I felt like that's the way it looks almost. So more neutral, not orange bronzers is what I prefer. And this one changed the game for me. This will last you a really long time. There is some kick up, but for whatever reason, you don't need a lot. It's easy to build, blends like butter. It is so nice. This changed my bronzer game. This is the only bronzer I own, and this I think it will be the only bronzer I will ever own. I loved it. Like, I don't think I can live without it now. It looks so nice. So yeah, I really like it. Again, I didn't mean to rag on some girls, but I don't like that way that looks. It's just not my thing. This HD powder from e.l.f. I had very low expectations from it. I heard Sarah Rose talk about it towards the end of last year in 2019, and I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a try because I have dry skin as well, and I struggle with very heavy powders. So this changed my game. For a long time, I thought the reason why pores looked very heavy on me in this area right here, in my little right underneath my under eyes, was because of my concealer. And I come to realize, no, it was my powder. My powder was making them look bigger. Because once I take off makeup, I mean, they're slightly noticeable, but they're not too big. I don't have gigantic pores, but for whatever reason, that always looked bigger with concealer on, which I have to put concealer on because my under eyes are so defined. I literally look like a punch in the face. So I have to use concealer to cover that up, you know? But no, this powder made such a difference for me. It was game changer for me, and I don't think I can go back. And I've mentioned this multiple times. I do wish it made it bigger because I go through them really quickly. Yeah, I'm gonna have to replace it for the end of the year, which I was hoping I didn't have to, but I'm gonna have to. I'm just like going through it. All right, what else do we have here? What about a product that I didn't really have a lot of expectations for? And this is in my roulette for Japan. It was like a free gift with purchase. I have very little expectations for this gloss right here, but I was like, oh, it's just a clear gloss, whatever. This is one of the worst glosses I've ever put in. I've ever used. I am almost done with it, so there is that. But it is so thick. It is so goopy. It feels like the 90s, if you know what I mean, like a 90s lip gloss, like the ones that give you like strings that look like you're in gel. I feel like my mouth is in gel when I wear this. It is horrible. It's a clear lip gloss. It's easy to use. Sometimes when I'm not sure what to do, I'm doing very minimal with makeup, that's when I throw it on, and it's so thick. I go through it so quickly, and it doesn't last very long, so I'm having to constantly reapply it. So that's how I've been able to use it up so quickly. But this sucks. It just sucks. There was no other way for it. It sucked. All right, another Ulta Beauty product that actually surprised me, and this one for the good. This one surprised me a lot because when we first started, I had very little expectations for it. this wand is so massive. Do you see that? It is so massive. Those spikes are so big that I was scared to put this in my eyeball. And at first, when it was still really wet, I would do my eyelashes, and then I would do like the rest of my face and give it time to like dry, and then I would grab my setting spray to like, you know, spritz my face or whatever, and I would end up with like marks because it was so wet. Now that it's dried and it's matured, I really like this formula. I still don't love the one. The one freaks me out every time I have to use it. But the formula is so nice. It actually keeps a curl or somewhat of a curl for me, which I've said before, I really struggle with mascaras because my eyelashes grow down. But this is not a problem for me. This is amazing. It separates them. I can never go overboard. I actually reapply because I like the way it looks. It's so natural. It's beautiful. They're wispy. And I really love it. And I was not expecting that from this. I was just not expecting that. So I'm really happy I tried it. And that was also in that free gift with purchase that I got from Sephora. Another positive note, let's talk about Milk makeup. I got the little sample. This is on my Partners in Crime project pan. And I've heard good things and bad things about the Milk Hydro Primer. And a lot of times what I've heard is that you need to let it dry. You know, it can be something that it's somewhat drying sometimes, and also that it can build up on your skin. This is the primer that I'm wearing right now. I personally have not struggled with this whatsoever. I did put another hydrating primer before it, and I do let it sit, and I do my eyes first, and then while I'm doing my eyes, then, you know, it's stay in my face and let it stay. But I haven't had any issues. I can definitely feel that my makeup does last a lot longer with it, and I'm glad for it, because yesterday I made a mistake, and instead of letting my setting spray dry a little before I tap it with my sponge, I just went straight in, and I was like, shit. And I was like, I was picking up my foundation. I was like, shit. I was like freaking out. I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna have like spots on my face without makeup on. But no, everything stayed almost tactless. I had a little bit right here on my cheeks, and I just reapplied my blush a little bit and kind of like blended it back in, and it worked. I don't know what kind of, you know, voodoo magic happened, but it kept my makeup on even after I literally picked it up with a sponge. So I was super impressed by that. Not that I need that on a day-to-day basis, but I was just impressed because I was expecting really bad things from it, just because for what I heard. All right, I think everything else is pretty positive except for two things. So let's just get those out the way and in a high note. I say and in a high note like we're about to finish. We're not, but you know what I mean. So this eyeliner, I got it for Christmas again last year, and when I tell you that I am extremely disappointed in this eyeliner, and it's not the eyeliner's fault. This is not about eyeliner. It's just I've learned that this is not my makeup preference. And I've said this before because I have this in my Harry Potter project pan, and I've mentioned this multiple times. So if you watch that, you know this. I just realized the way I like to do eyeliner is with eyeshadow. And I like to do colorful things, and I just do like a soft wash of like a neutral color over the lid, and then something more like a pop, you know, for that my eyeliner. And so I rarely use this. So this was a disappointment because it was essentially a waste of money. That's what it was. And I'm always disappointed to just waste money. The last thing I have that was a bit of a disappointment is the Makeup Geek Quad with the rebrand. Now, I do want to say that this is 100% personal preference, and there's nothing absolutely wrong with the formula. The formula is amazing, actually. It blends like butter. But I'm disappointed at myself because I chose a bunch of pinks. This one peach color, a bunch of pinks. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I don't know if it was because I got this for my anniversary, which is March. So he actually bought it for me around Valentine's Day time, and so maybe I was feeling the love or something. But I kind of wish I would have gotten some neutral shades as well. Like, I didn't think this would through. And I've seen, because now my super Target carries Makeup Geek, and I've seen they have the quad just like this one, but with more neutral shades. And I thought about picking it up, but they haven't restocked the Makeup Geek section in a long while. And the only one that they have is like scratched. And I'm like, there's something about my bouginess that was like, I don't want to buy a scratched up palette. Even though I know it's taped, the shadows haven't been touched, the shadows in perfect quality, just the fact that it's scratched up, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want it. But again, the formula is great, and when I use them individually, they're amazing. I never use them all together. These are like individual single shadows that I use in like, sorry about that guys, but my camera like crashed on me. But we're back. Anyway, so anyway, what I was saying, I did the wrong choice by picking these colors. I should have picked something else. But so I am a little disappointed in it. Not necessarily at the formula, I'm just kind of mad at myself. So, moving along. Let's talk about the year of Kristi, because if Kristi didn't have a year, the only person that I know that even had a year close to it as remotely good as Kristi is for sure Desi. But I don't wear sunglasses because I have to wear these glasses, so I didn't purchase anything from her brand. But they both have babies after struggling for a long time with infertility, so I'm really happy for both of them. But anyway, she came out with this both palettes, and to be honest, I bought them for Kristi, not 100% because I was in love with them, except for this one. This one's right up my alley. If you saw my swatch party of this is literally like my color. The little thing fell out. This is my color story in a nutshell. That's actually what I'm wearing today. And I love it. This is me. This is my favorite palette. Like not my favorite palette, but like this is me. So I love this. This blew me away even more than I thought it would, because these are amazing colors. They have blend really well. If you know the ColourPop formula, you know it's really good. So loved it. But the one that shocked me for the better is the RawBeautyKristi. The neutral side is just so beautiful. It's so easy to work with. These are the kind of neutrals that I personally like to use. Sorry, I'm struggling with this. We're gonna talk about the Sweet Talk later. These are the kind of neutrals that I like. This Mood Point shade is actually really pretty, and I'd like to compare this to the Super Shock Shadow from ColourPop in Brady. So good. Anyway, but love this. Now, on the flip side, the colorful side, I am struggling a little bit more with it. First off, I never wear red. So this was just like a little, you know, it's just not my thing. For the green, I kind of wish they would have gone for more like a green instead of like this like teal kind of color. I have no problem with these or these. Actually, I did have a little bit of problem with the purple one. It's Stay Not, which it's a vegan palette, so I'm expecting that. But I had a really hard time building it up to like get the pigmentation that I wanted, so which I always thought it was really strange. I actually really enjoyed this blue right here, which I was not expecting that. But I'm just not loving this colorful side as much as I hoped that I would. So there's that. So, but you get both. So there's, you know, that beautifulness that right there. Alright, since we're going to talk, I already showed it to you guys, we might as well get this ColourPop palettes out the way. I was wrong, I do have one more negative thing. So I do have the Sweet Talk from ColourPop, and I believe I've mentioned this before, but I am a little disappointed with this palette. Everyone was hyping it up. Like at the end of 2019, everyone was like, one of my top favorite palettes from ColourPop, like favorite palettes for the year. Everyone had this in like their top 10 for the year. And so I was like, man, it is kind of up my alley. I should give it a try. And so I did, but I don't know that I thought this purchase through. I maybe got into the hype a little bit. Because first off, there's two glitter shadows, and I've mentioned this before, I don't like things in my eye. And I'm terrified of this glitter shadow, so I almost never wear them. Also, they're both very similar. This is more like a bronzy, this is more of a gold. But they're both, this is like a bronzy gold. This is more like a, what's it called? Bronze gold. So, you know, they look somewhat similar. These ones are a little smaller than this one, but still, you know, they're going to look somewhat similar in the eye. I will say though, my favorite shades were actually these two mustard shades right here. I was not expecting that at all. But these two shades right here were so disappointing. I think that's the only way I can say it. They were just so disappointing. They look different on screen. Like this clearly looks a lot darker, but they don't. They're not. Do you see that? This one's slightly pinker, but when you swatch them, they're almost the same. Do you see that? They're almost the same. So that was super disappointing for me. I kind of wish they had just this one right here and this one right here, I think that would have been a good like jump of depth. I kind of wish I had something else instead of this one, but regardless, I am a little disappointed, but the formula is amazing. I probably should have bought, thought it through, but there's 3 out of 12 shades that I don't particularly care for, and that's a big percentage considering there's only 12 shadows. That's like 25% of the palette I'm not loving. On the flip side, the palette that everyone was kind of like iffy about, that I fell in love with, was a Well Nothing. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have a lot of expectations. This green right here and this like a duochromeness right here kind of pull me in. That's what brought me into this palette. But the mattes in here, especially again, I don't know how to say this in English, but it's vagabond. In Spanish, it's vagabundo. And come together, these 2 right here blew me away. Blew me away. Top Down is a beautiful transition shade as well. I'm just like loving it. I don't know what it is, but this is like my favorite dark brown that I've ever had, and it's nothing special about it. It's just there's something about that undertone that I'm loving. It's a chocolate brown, but it's not warm. It's so strange, but I love the heck out of it. This palette just caught me by surprise. Like I was like, ooh, okay, pretty, how you doing? This is a palette that I didn't use much last year, but I did get more use out of it this year, and it's the Pixie plus Heart Defensor palette. Technically I bought this one last year, and I got it early last year, but like I said, I just didn't use it much. This palette disappointed me a little bit. This brown right here is just not nearly as deep as I thought it would be. Now I will say the formula is nice. It's easy to work with. This is one of the easiest palettes you will ever have to work with. Definitely if you're even just a little bit darker than me, don't bother. There is very little depth in here. This shade right here is actually quite beautiful, which I was not expecting. I haven't played with this pink too much because I used to love pinks, and now I'm having a hard time gravitating towards them. I don't know what it is. This is such an easy pen to shade, like easy palette. If I were to do a pen and palette like anywhere in the future, it was gonna be with this palette right here. However, I don't know what to say. I'm just disappointed. I don't know. Just disappointed. Okay. Another thing that caught me by surprise this year is my single shadows. Nothing here special, but I did start a series in my channel where I'm doing like seasonal palettes based off my single shadows, and this is my current fall palette, and I'm loving the heck out of this series. I'm getting way more use out of my single shadows. Sometimes I don't feel like thinking about something, and so I just grab that palette because I keep it right in front of me, and I'm just using the heck out of these shades, which I'm gonna be honest, I really wasn't using my single shadows much the last couple of years, but this year doing this series has really helped me rotate through them, because I don't have a huge single shadow collection like a lot of people. I pretty much keep my single shadows in these 2 palettes, and they're not full. This is my Lara Sanchez at the top, and then I have a couple of things here at the bottom. These are Sephora collection, and then this is one that I did put it from Tarte, and I think this one is, yes, that's Say What from Ulta Beauty. And then here it's all ColourPop. There's a lot of shades that are obviously this one right here, but like I said, I wasn't really using them, but now I'm using the heck out of them, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm rotating through them, and I really like it, so I'm happy. I'm just happy I'm using them. Yeah. All right, let's end this last 2 actually I have more ColourPop. Who am I lying to? This Pretty Fresh foundation from ColourPop, I was not expecting much. I've been looking for a good mix between like something like an everyday use, like a tint to moisturize, and finding like a nice everyday use foundation, and this is it for me. I'm trying to find my right match. I've said this always, like it's the right match, but it's like the wrong undertone. But then whenever I wear it, I never have any issues with my skin. My skin, my neck look the same. Like, so maybe I just think it's the wrong undertone, but it's the right undertone. I don't know how I feel about this foundation's undertone, but the formula is amazing. It's super long lasting, at least on my skin type, which is very dry. But not being dry, it's actually somewhat hydrating. I don't struggle with it at all. I really love this foundation. I was not expecting really much from it. I also have this tint lip oil from ColourPop, which came out, it's a new formula that came out with the Wow Nothing palette, and I actually really enjoy this. It's just like super nourishing on the lips. It has just the slightest little tint of color, but it's really beautiful still. I'm really liking this, really liking it. All right, I have the Urban Decay eyeliner. I've heard a lot of good things about this kind of eyeliner before, but then I won the giveaway from Alejandra Lisette, and I actually I don't know how to say this. Like, I actually really like this eyeliner. It does not last on the waterline very long, but I can actually like smudge it on my top line, because every other eyeliner I've ever used, they're too dry to be able to do that with, but this one, it just glides right on, which is funny because the name is Glide On Eye Pencil. Original. Alright, so let's talk about Rare Beauty. And I only have 2 products from her because I was like, I'm not gonna dip. I kind of want to try it, but like I don't want to dip into it too much. So I bought only 2 products, which actually was really surprised. I wasn't really expecting much from this. I got the tinted lip balm in Support. I actually really enjoy this. It's really nourishing. I will say though, it does remind me of the ColourPop Just a Tint formula, and that's a lot cheaper. They have somewhat similar product. This one's 0.10. Let me see how much it is. This one's 0.7 or something like that. Yeah, 0.07. So I mean, this one's less, but there's also a significant less money. This is over 20 bucks, and this is less than $10 for the Just a Tint. And I will say the ColourPop has way more formulas, and they also on sale a lot. So I do enjoy it. I really like it. Is there a better dupe out there? Yes, but I really enjoyed it. Now, the Rare Beauty blushes is immediately what caught my attention. I was a little scared because I saw a lot of reviews online, and you either love them or hate them. Jackie Ann is like, oh, I love this. These are super pigmented. And I'm like, yeah, Jackie Ann is also significantly darker than me, so she would say that. So anyone that was around my skin tone or lighter would be like, ooh, these are really pigmented. So I was a little scared, but I'm glad I watched this review ahead of time so I can kind of prepare for what to expect. And so I would just put like a tiny little dot in my cheeks and I blend it out. And when you first start blending it out, it just looks like shit. I just made a mistake. And it looks like that all the way through the point. After I blend it with my sponge, it still looks somewhat really intense. But as soon as I put just a little bit of powder, it immediately subdues drastically. And I don't put a lot of powder. I've said this before. I just put the tiniest little bit of powder, and it just subdues, but still lasts all day long. It is so beautiful. Really enjoy this. I even thought about picking up another one, but I've been buying a lot of blush this year, so I'm like, maybe I shouldn't. But I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I'm really liking that. The last product is the product that it took me a long time to buy the bullet and buy it, because I heard a lot of good things about it, but I'm like, how good is it really though? And that is the ColourPop X Kathleen Lights Soja palette. God, our words are not my friend today, and the sun's almost completely gone, so we gotta hurry these up. This palette, again, there is those 2 glitter shades, which not my favorite, but considering this palette is significantly bigger, I'm okay with it. I personally don't mind big palettes. I know a lot of people do. The only palette that I feel like it's too big is my Morphe 24G, but you gotta see that thing. That shit's a monster. Actually, I'm gonna take it out just for comparisons, because why not? Jesus Christ. I have a hard time just getting it out. Do you see the difference? This is a monster. So, yeah. This is significantly smaller. It's still somewhat big, but it's still pretty small, even compared to the Jaclyn Hill Morphe. I mean, it's not nearly as big, but it's still, it's still significantly smaller. It has 30 shades, and this is the most diverse palette I've ever owned. If I had to, if something were to happen, which God, knock on wood, I hope never happens, but all my makeup gets destroyed, and I have to purchase one palette, just to like get me through until I can figure out what to do, this would be it. This palette has everything you can think of. It has those greens that I love. It has more neutral tones. It has more mauvey, more warms, those yellows. It has this beautiful like pops of color. This will be the palette that if I just need to start rebuilding, this is what I will start with. So beautiful. Literally endless possibility. I feel people do like 3 looks 1 palettes with this. I'm like, no, girl, you need a 10 looks 1 palette just to even like dip into the amounts of diversity that you can do in this palette. And I was not expecting that. I mean, I knew it was pretty because I've seen it and people always like to hype it up, but I didn't buy this until March of 2020, because I was like, I don't know, is it really as good as people say? And I was like, I don't know. And I'm so glad I bought it. So glad. I think she did some amazing choices, getting like the red, but not a matte red, but like more of a shimmer red. She did a blue, but not a bright blue. She did a sapphire, a more navy blue, because I feel like that's easier, because if you just put that in the outer corner and you put any of this like softer blues in your lid, it's still gonna give that very blue effect without being like royal blue on your face, bitch. If you get what I'm trying to say. All right, I'm just gonna cut it because this video is gonna be ridiculously long and I have to merge the 2 files because one got corrupted. So I'm gonna call it. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're just revisiting that, we all try to make smart choices when we do our purchases, but sometimes we're gonna buy things that we weren't expecting that, we just weren't expecting to either love it or hate it the way we did, and we just gotta try it. I do want to say though, even though there's some items that I don't like, and those were a few, most of the items, even if I do have some cons about them, I still do enjoy them for the most part. So I really personally I don't think I'm gonna declutter any of them, and to some of them I'm gonna kind of like push myself through to just kind of like get them done out of my collection. But there's some that I'm really enjoying. I'm just really enjoying them. So I hope you like it. See you in the next one. Bye guys.